think before you take this stuff, because you really can't get happiness from a pill. It doesn't work like that.
Antidepressants or stimulants, the whole gamut that we have been developing over the last 50 years for adults and the elderly are now being shifted to children as young as 2.
Giving medication to children is an absolute last resort. It borders on being unethical not to try 15 things before you do it, to try to address it in more creative ways rather than the magic pill.
The panacea for everything is here, pop a pill and it'll make you feel better. Instead of counseling, instead of taking the time to find out what's really bothering the person.
The little kids, so young, like 4, 5, taking medicine, like at the doctor's office. These are like developing minds that we're just pouring chemicals into.
Parents just want to do the right thing, so they want to make sure that they're getting treatment if it's needed, and the result is that we have a lot of people that are too quick to pull the trigger of medication.
Don't we have an obligation as a parent? I mean, isn't that why you took on the obligation of having children, is to spend the time with them and work with them? But no, it's so much easier to give them a pill.
You can't treat us like as little adults, because we're not.
Ding dong, it's a bell, it's ringing. This is an alarm for what is likely to occur later on.
The drug is numbing the emotions. SSRIs or other drugs that numb emotions like alcohol, cocaine, opiates stifle the voice of the soul.
Today, we are facing a crisis of epidemic proportions. Over 8 million American children, some as young as 2 years old, are being given stimulant and antidepressant drugs to control hyperactivity.
Take 2 amphetamine, put them in my hands. It's a dead man's vitamin. Get 2 amphetamine, right to the mouth.
Michael loved the outdoors. He loved surfing, fishing. He especially liked anything to do with salt water. February 8th, 2001 was the day that he died. It's been 3.5 years, and I still have some real hard times. I always will. That was the day that my life changed forever. To be informed, to be very careful, to know what you are dealing with and who you are dealing with. They, as doctors, have got to know, or they certainly should know, what these potent medications are all about. I mean, how could they not? That is their job. People trust doctors. I used to trust doctors.
We know the drug trials show the drugs to be ineffective. We know the drug trials show the drugs to carry a substantial risk of adverse effects, including suicidal ideas, self-mutilation, other aggressive types of behavior.
Some kids, it causes this terrible thing called akathisia, or where you get this intense emotion that you gotta do something, and it's dangerous.
I just had like an impulse, like just to like go like grab the medicine and just take it, and that's what I did.
They will do something really stupid. They'll hurt themselves, they'll hurt other people, they'll do things out of character.
On March 31st, I took a lot of my pills and I tried to kill myself. I was kind of scared because I was like, well, it wasn't me, but it was me. Like, I did do this.
Drugs interfere with the normal functioning of the brain. They do that. That we know is an uncontrovertible fact. That's why we give them. We want to change the way the brain works. We want to interfere with the communication of chemicals. We want to slow something down. We want to speed something up. We want to put something to sleep in the brain.
Those are mind-altering drugs. It changed the chemical balance in your brain. It changed the way your brain works. So if you think about that, and if somebody's suggesting you do that, I will first try everything else in the book.
It was a classic picture as a kid goes on Ritalin. And the kid sometimes responds by being irritable, crabby, maybe even depressed, so then they add an antidepressant to the mix, and the kid's on that, and they get really aggressive, maybe impulsive. Then, oh my gosh, they are bipolar disorder, and they're put on not usually lithium, but Depakote or one of the anti-seizure medications. Now you have a kid on polypharmacy, and it's just like, who is this child? Is this, you know, the product of just neurotransmitters firing all over the place, manipulated by drugs? Where is the child in this situation? They get one diagnosis after another until, you know, by the time they're 10 years old, they're mental health invalids, you know, walking around 3 or 4 different diagnoses to justify the medications that they're on.
She changed drastically when she was with these drugs. She wasn't the same person that she was all her life.
When I went to the psychiatrist, she was saying that since I was starting to feel lower, that I needed more. So she would like keep giving me more, and it kept getting worse. And then I think by December or January, I was on like 300 milligrams of Effexor. It's more than you're supposed to be taking like as an adult.
There was Effexor, a report about the girl who committed suicide after being on antidepressants. How do you address this? How do you change this?
For a child who's 5 years old, every day to take a potent drug like Ritalin or Adderall, which are stimulants, which we know are drugs that affect the brain, that lead some people to be completely dependent on them, that lead some people to become psychotic on them and so forth. What happens when every day you give that child a dose for 5 to 6 years? Well, what doesn't happen?
You know, saying biochemical imbalance is like a marketing slogan that everybody seems to know. People go into their doctors and say, you know, I think I have a biochemical imbalance. And children are taught that at an early age by these kind of cartoon-like figures.
Let's try to cure this madness that we have. We see the commercials, the little unhappy egg with a cloud on top, and you see, you know, prescribe this drug, and then you see this little egg happy and shiny and everything's fine. And what kind of a message are we giving? You know, we're telling our kids that happiness is going to be within a pill, but we're not telling what this pill is doing. The manufacturer doesn't even know.
It's a fact now that drugs are being given younger and younger, and pediatricians are using psychotropic medications as a first line of defense for a lot of parent complaints about their children. And it's very unfortunate because there is no data about children under 6 years old. We have not a clue about how this affects the developing brain and whether or not these drugs have any efficacy at all, because the efficacy studies are of older children. And they're questionable.
For the first 4 to 5 years, we're all ADHD. Most of us, that is, cannot control ourselves. Most of us want things and blurt out answers before the question's over and interrupt adults. The question is, we're taught not to be that way. And most of us grow out of that phase, which is totally normal.
Children are like rivers. You can't step in the same part of them twice. They're changing so rapidly that you can rely on development to take care of a lot of problems in an earlier age child like 4 and a half.